Welcome to this week's episode of Start in Seattle. I'm Koji. I'm here with Arif and Vibeheavy. And tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, sure, man. Vibeheavy is a digital agency. Here we focus on three primary businesses: technology and marketing strategy for our clients is one core thing. So building out websites, mobile apps, all the way to enterprise solutions, right? Just core technology. Second part of our business is experiential marketing. We're kind of very heavily focused on doing experiential marketing specifically in the Northwest. We think it takes a certain set of ingredients to kind of touch people here.
Right.
And we think there's a core group of metropolitan transplants here that are very valuable. So we developed some frameworks and ways to kind of engage those people in an entertainment-based environment. And so we do that for ourselves, for our own brands. We also do that for other clients. So that's event planning. This is another core part of our business. And then the third thing, and last but not least, is social media strategy.
Okay.
And we've built out some very significant core frameworks for how recording artists, entertainers, people who make money off of artistic works, kind of develop and push their brand online, and also look at business development and making that big data conversation relevant to entertainment. How do we look at all the various data sources available to us and to an entertainment brand and analyze that and look for monetization opportunities.
Gotcha. Very interesting. Okay, so while I was getting set up, we were talking about customers. You have a very interesting customer base.
Right.
One that's pretty unique. Tell me a little bit about. You also mentioned the guy Kawasaki quote, like what was it, the best?
The best business you can open or look to start is one in which you're a customer.
You're the customer as well.
You're trying to solve your own personal problems.
Right, exactly. So tell me a little bit more about sort of how the customer has influenced everything that you've done here at Vibeheavy.
I think for us and a lot of our approaches, it's very human-centered. It's very we study human behavior more than anything. It's not about this product or this solution or this app. It's about a person, right? And this person has a view of the world and they live a lifestyle. And how are they going to interface with this thing, whatever this thing is, whether it's your brand or a party or a product. And so for us, it's really about we do a lot of persona development for the simplest thing. It seems crazy, and maybe it's my background in software. I kind of got into software professionally. My first job was as a software developer and test and looking at QA. And I love people who are QA because I think QA allows you to look from the perspective of the customer or the end user, right? And so you have these program managers, and a lot of them, product managers, they write these great ideas and these dream specs.
Right.
And you got these developers, and they go off in dark corners and they code these things, and it's really cool. But nobody's thinking about how does this person really want to use it, right? And I remember in college, undergrad, I went to Tuskegee University, and I had a professor of mine, Mr. Freeman, walk into class, and one day he wrote on the chalkboard really big, "End users are stupid." He says, you're going to learn a lot of things in your career, but never forget this point: end users are stupid. And he says, by that, don't make assumptions. Really try to understand people, and don't assume that they know what you know.
Right.
And that never left me. And no matter what I was working on, I always felt like you got to know your customers. So for us, we really define who is our core customer, who are we targeting, who are those auxiliary customers or secondary customers, who we may overlap into. And our core business is different, and we know the customer in each. So for us, on the technology strategy side of our business, two customers, right? It's technology companies or people who have a technical expertise who just need some very specific assistance in something, right? It may be strategy, it may be biz dev, it may be proof of concept, it may be architecture. They bring us in from the outside for a very core thing, and we go do it. We know who that is, right? We know that customer. Or we also target that person who has a great idea, who has no understanding of a software development life cycle, or I don't know what it takes, but I have this budget and I want to go do it, and how do I,
you have to educate
how do you educate? And so part of that becomes this part consultant, part educator, part implementer, and helping them through that cycle, right?
Okay.
And so really helping a client bring that idea, to reality. That's a core business. We find those people all over the place, and a lot of times that just comes by recommendation, right? I've seen this product, someone built it, it was great, who did it?
Okay. Yeah, so there's an interesting quote by Henry Ford where he said, if I had asked the customer what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, right? 'Cause they didn't know any better.
Right.
So I want to know how you kind of deal with that, like, and especially like, performing artists and stuff. Technology might not be the thing, but they probably have a very clear idea of what they want their brand to be or their image. So how do you sort of
It's funny.
communicate and go back and forth?
You smile, you listen to all the feedback, and you ignore the things that you know or you assume they just aren't ready yet.
Okay.
And it's funny you use the Henry Ford analogy because we use the analogy a lot, especially in the social media side of our business. We're so ahead of the curve on a lot of the things that we're doing. It's like when everyone was riding horses and we knew cars were coming, we're building gas stations. Right? So there are clients who we engage and they go, love what you guys do, I need it. Oop, they see the price tag and go, oh, I'm not sure I want to pay that. But because they're still wrapped up in traditional business models that they're spending that money, they're spending it elsewhere, they're not getting ROI on that spend, but because the model in the industry has told them this is just one of these expenses you pay,
right,
they do it. Even though they should probably spend that with us because we can actually quantify the ROI better than a traditional spend.
Okay.
But
that's sort of the value you're bringing to the table.
That's the value you bring. And so, for us, it's early on, and we just prove it through case studies, right?
Okay.
So we have clients who we have convinced, they see it, they fully entrust us, they pay our services, and they see the ROI, and they're happy, right? And so those clients also help us go build case studies to other clients, and it's a snowball.
Okay. So is the customer always right in that world, or?
No.
No.
No. The customer always has valuable feedback, though.
Okay.
No one's always right. Right?
I mean, it sounds like you're positioning yourself more as like we had said, like you got to educate. Like you're the expert. If they're hiring you, it's because you know more about.
In specific things, in very specific things, we have deeper skill set, more expertise. But we also learn as much as we teach. And every client for us is different because every brand is different.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't have a cookie cutter approach. We have frameworks. We stick true to those frameworks.
Yeah.
They've proven to be accurate for us, but we also are smart enough people to know when we need to navigate around certain frameworks and differently for certain brands.
And how are those frameworks created? Is that sort of a trial and error?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Okay.
I mean, it was literally, I think one of the cool things about our business is, it feels good to know we didn't copy anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, nothing existed like what we were trying to go do, so we almost couldn't find anything to copy, right? I mean, we would go do these searches and they would come back empty, and then literally it was, a core team of us just locked ourselves up early. Mm-hmm. And before we built a product, before we locked down a client, we spent 3 to 4 months, 12, 18-hour days whiteboarding, right? And challenging and having drinking parties, having people coming over, just having brainstorming sessions and just
vetting the idea over and over.
Human behavior, talking to various people, vetting the idea, flying around, engaging artists, engaging brands, engaging venues, engaging labels. And and then as we started seeing these things, I mean, we pivoted 12 times in a month, right? I mean, so.
But at a very low cost, right? It wasn't
very low cost.
To do.
Well, I spent 10 years at Microsoft building software. I learned a lot of great and valuable things there. I learned how to do significant things at scale. I also learned how to do things wrong. And one of those ways is really, again, not talking to clients and customers before you start building something. Originally, we were looking to build some technology solutions for what we now do manually. And before I wrote the first piece of code, I sat in a room and I said, I haven't talked to enough people.
Yeah.
I'm making this assumption about this thing I'm going to go build, but I just haven't talked to enough people. So I took this bucket of money that I had for first milestone of development costs and said, screw this, I'm going to fly around the world and I'm going to talk to some very strategic people who I feel are already personas I've developed in my mind for the solution I want to build. And as I spoke to them, I realized, I was here, I thought they wanted this, but as I spoke to them, they wanted this. And wow. So I said, you know what, let's go do this job as an agency, let's go, launch a very specific manual practice to go do this work and learn even more in a manual process of what we don't know. Now what we're doing after a couple of years of doing this work, we're automating our ways ourselves out of it.
Okay.
Right? So now we're looking at the things that we do repetitively and we're building tools and technology solutions internally to do those things. As we vet those over time with our clients, we're going to package those up sooner or later and just release them to the market, right? Because they don't exist because we've been looking for tools.
Right.
So tools we can't find, we go build, and
okay.
it's kind of
very interesting. Yeah. All right. As a native New Yorker, right?
Yep.
I always like to kind of touch on the Seattle scene a little bit at the end, right? So for someone coming out of one of the major metropolitan areas, New York, Chicago, something, when you come to Seattle, what would you tell somebody in the tech and startup field? Like, how do you do anything? How do you get through
the shock?
Yeah.
The shock of being like, oh, where have I moved? Well, first, a few years ago, I would tell you, you just try to figure it out. And I heard this great saying that it takes 2 years to meet friends in Seattle and kind of get your own rhythm and network going. I think that's pretty true.
Yeah.
You meet a lot of people, but it takes a minute before you kind of
find your place.
Yeah, you gotta find your rhythm in this city. It's a really weird laid out city. It's small, but it's also very big, and it's hard to find stuff. Especially for the tech community, you're bringing a lot of great talent here from metropolitan areas. That's one of our core businesses. And what we've done in our events company, I have 2 of the best DJs, not only in the nation, I mean definitely in this region, but I think they're one of the 2 of the best DJs in the country. DJ Supreme, DJ Topspin, and DJ Topspin, yeah, definitely. I mean these guys, DJ Topspin goes back with us, 5+ years from when we were just doing parties. But these guys are also very core to our business now. We're looking at an audio curation business in our music discovery service and the thing that we're launching, and they're very core to that. But we do events for transplants. And so, the thing I tell people now is go to our website, Deluxe Life, DLUXELIFE.com, deluxelife.com. And it's a social club for metropolitan transplants. Okay. So this is one of our brands, one of our experiential marketing brands. And so we do these events, pop-up events all around the city. We partner with really cool companies or brands who want to touch new transplants to the area. Right. We've partnered with, Seattle Met. We've done some things with Uber and Ciroc Vodka and Par 7 Vodka, and a lot of great partners at Lick Ice Cream, and so it's a hard community to connect to, and that was one of the opportunities for us to start in this business is talking to a lot of brands who want to connect in this area or used to look at Seattle as a secondary market, right? Who they don't want to invest heavily in the people or the places here, but it's a small city, but it's a high net worth area. Yeah. So it's highly educated, and it's valuable. And if brands better understood how to harness the value of this area, they would engage more. And so we're starting to see more brands who are engaging with us, who are taking that risk, who are starting to look at opportunities where I recently talked to a couple brands I don't want to name now, who are large brands who are actually pulling an event from the Bay Area to do it with us here in Seattle because they think the engagement will be more organic.
There you go. That's pretty awesome.
One of the data points I saw recently is Seattle generates the most trending topics on Twitter.
Really?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
In social media company, we know all these weird little factoids,
yeah.
Right? But that's, for this area, you would think the Bay Area would, right?
Yeah.
But I think it goes to show that the conversations and the engagements here, even though they're harder to connect, once you do, they're a lot more organic.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it's one of the great reasons about even having a startup in this area too.
All right. Well, there you go. We're totally out of time, but thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us at Start in Seattle.
Yeah.
This is Arif, and this is
Vibeheavy.
There you go. Thank you.